On today's show, me and Andre Simone, we're talking NBA draft. Did the Nuggets promise DaRon Holmes at 28 overall?
Oh, boy.
We'll go through the entire latest mock draft and talk about it. Are the Nuggets going to take Holmes? Who are they targeting? That's all coming up.
Charger?
Yes. All right, we're here on another episode of TDSP. Harrison Wind, and I got my guy Andre Simone with me on today's show. We're talking NBA draft, and I had to get Andre in here because nobody pours over the draft film like Dre.
I have a sickness. Why is it, Harrison? Yeah, I just get to harass you every day when I see you, ask for more intel, bug you about this guy, that guy.
Yeah.
And you figured, let's throw him a bone and get him on TDSP today. Why not?
Well, occasionally I just pop into your office and, you got the latest film on
That's right.
Alex Sarr going.
That's right. Yeah.
Or, some D3 Italian league prospect that I've never heard of.
You never know. You never know in draft season. Yeah, we've had like too much time to study this draft. It's like the COVID draft.
I know. Well, it's so great when the Nuggets obviously win the championship because then you can spend zero time on the NBA draft and you don't feel bad about.
Right, and then you still get to spit takes, and because your team won, you kind of feel like a genius anyways. It's so easy.
You can pull the James Jones, we don't really care about the draft.
Exactly
like the Suns' philosophy for the last couple of years.
Right, will they draft? Will they make a pick?
Well, I mean, I threw out on Twitter yesterday that I really wonder if they're stupid enough to take the Bronny James bait and take him in the first round. I really wonder if they are, man.
It's one of the great
like
storylines.
Classic Matt Ishbia move to do that.
They're apparently the only team that can get him in for a visit.
I know. I really wonder.
Haven't they worked him out 3 times
already?
already?
Twice. I think
That's
twice.
crazy.
But I really do wonder. I really wonder if Bronny James / LeBron James's camp has identified the Suns as the one team that they could trick into picking him in the first round. That's not the Lakers. And I wonder if that's why they're like, pre-draft workout? We'll be in for that. I really wonder if they're like, Matt Ishbia, James Jones, a LeBron guy. I really wonder if we could trick them into taking Bronny in the first round. Probably not, because it seems like they're going to take Tyler Kolek.
Everyone's in on Tyler Kolek.
The point guard out of Marquette.
Right.
Who, Andre, do you know who Tyler Kolek's agent is?
No.
Mark Bartelstein. Do you know who's the CEO of the Suns? Mark Bartelstein's son, Josh Bartelstein.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Tyler Kolek's agent is the father of the Suns CEO.
Those are real insights. As soon as Bet365 during the draft comes up with a live bet for the 22nd pick, hammer away Tyler Kolek.
I think it's going to be Kolek.
Wow. There's some fascinating teams out west in this draft, man.
Yeah. Do you want to start with the Nuggets, and then we'll kind of go through the whole mock draft?
Please,
ESPN
I would love
just put
that.
out a new mock draft today. We're kind of going to go through it. But let's start with the Nuggets.
Yes.
Because the DaRon Holmes smoke to the Nuggets has been thick. Yeah. There's been so much DaRon Holmes smoke to the Nuggets, and that continued today in this latest ESPN draft.
Yeah.
This is what Jonathan Givony, the top draft analyst out there, is saying right now. Yep. This is from his mock draft. Most NBA teams are operating under the assumption Holmes has received a promise from the Nuggets. Although it is possible the team might attempt to trade down a few spots into the second round to draft him for financial reasons.
Which is really interesting.
Let's start with that.
Yeah. And I heard I heard Givony say this on the Ringers podcast he did last week as well. And I thought that was an interesting nugget. What do you think the possibility of the Nuggets trying to move down from 28 to like the top, still getting into the top 40 in the second round would be?
Well, first of all, if you promised a guy that you're going to draft him in the first round,
right,
and then you move back into the second round
yes.
and cut his salary almost in half and take him there, I don't know if that's the best way to start off player-team relations.
It's a good point. Also, isn't the promise, if you're around at 28, we will take you? That has to be the promise.
A promise is built on.
Yeah, right. I love the idea that they should wear a promise ring. In favor or not in favor? If you've received a promise as a prospect, you must wear a promise ring.
Promises in the NBA draft are
They're
funny.
crazy.
Because I really think they don't hold a ton of weight at the end of the day.
No. Also, what's the promise at 28?
Right.
Like, I would still interview with the other 27 teams. See what I can do.
Right. It locks you into the first round, which locks you into that pay structure.
Yeah.
Pretty much a 4-year deal.
But he
second
could
round is
totally
completely
get
different.
a pick in the high 20s or
Yeah.
late teens. He's that good.
But that being said, what Gavoni said about the Nuggets trading back into the second round to get their guy, whether that's Holmes or somebody else, that actually does make sense because that does save you a lot of money.
Yep.
A significant amount of money, and you can structure the contract way differently. If you pick a guy in the first round, their contract is set.
Right.
First 2 years and the team option.
Yeah.
Second round, you can kind of do whatever you want.
100%. And also, what does that trade look like, right? It's not like you're trading back from 28 and getting 2 seconds. You're maybe getting a second this year to get a Holmes or other target in the early second. And then maybe the other asset included is a future second, right?
Yeah.
Which extending your assets and having a few more in your cupboard for later could be huge for a team like the Nuggets, where like every inch of movement, cap, extra assets to try and extend this championship window is obviously key.
Totally. So, did the Nuggets promise DaRon Holmes? I'm going to say probably not. I think it's a case of they most likely do like him, and I actually think they like Holmes, and there is some interest there.
Right.
But I think it's more of everybody just assuming that, and the word kind of got out, and everybody just ran with it.
Well, the second part of this, the other part of the paragraph that Gavoni says, he does point out Holmes canceled a half dozen workouts shortly after the NCAA withdrawal deadline, with several smoking guns pointing in Denver's direction.
Smoking guns.
Yes.
Great word choice
Isn't
there.
that awesome? A scenario that is similar to what we saw play out last year with Jalen Pickett, which is also an interesting caveat. So, no doubt, Holmes has received a promise. That smoke, I do believe. It being the Nuggets, I think the media's kind of run with that.
Little running with it. Yeah. Little bit of running
I'm not
with
so
it.
sure. I'm not so sure.
Yeah. But the thing is, and why I think it's so easy to connect the dots, is because Holmes makes so much sense for the Nuggets. If you just look at who's in their prospect pipeline already and the positions of need, they clearly need a big man.
Yes.
They clearly want to move off of Zeke Naji. And DaRon Holmes he can play the 5. Hunter Tyson doesn't play the 5. Jalen Pickett doesn't play the 5. Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther, none of those are big men.
Right.
So it just makes sense in that way. And Holmes also, like, he's a bit of an older prospect.
Yep.
Accomplished
All-American
guy. Got better every season. He seems like a Calvin Booth type of pick too. So it's easy to connect the dots.
For sure. And he brings you some shot blocking with some shooting range, which, like, in a big you'd want on the Nuggets to potentially play some minutes on the court with Jokic or be your backup big and play those kinds of minutes with an Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
Fitting that bill really helps. It's also an intriguing class where there's a few guys that have similar profiles like that to DaRon Holmes in this range. It's a fun draft, man. It's not a loaded draft with surefire franchise players, but the end of the draft, there are still plenty of All-American type guys. And I think the Nuggets could find a little gem in the rough, even in this class.
Dimitri says, you've got to trade Zeke if you pick DaRon. I agree.
Any smoke to this? A lot of smoke coming out. He got a green room invite, so a lot of people are thinking he's going earlier than 28 because of that.
I did see that.
That's what that would suggest, though, right? A green room invite means you're feeling better about your chances of going in round 1 than a promise at 28.
Right. The green room invite thing is so funny.
I know.
It's just something that makes the draft so fun because green room invite. So you can go to the draft and be in the green room.
Yep.
But ESPN obviously doesn't want to invite people there that could slip in the draft into the second round.
Yeah. That's
So-
the thinking, at least.
But there's always going to be 1 or 2 guys that do, just because they do invite a lot of dudes there.
Yeah. I
You know,
mean,
it's like 20 plus guys that get the invite. So
this year, the invites, I think we're at 24.
right. So one of these couple guys is going to slip to the end of the first. You know.
No doubt.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that eliminates him from contention at 28, but maybe there is some interest a little higher. Can we go back to the ESPN mock and what else Gavoni said there?
From the Nuggets?
Yeah. Because like
Yeah, I read that last
he
little
pretty much
paragraph.
wrote it as if this is just the lock to happen.
Yeah. To some of these draft guys, it's being reported as kind of known fact.
Oh yeah, you read this part. He canceled half a dozen workouts after the withdrawal deadline. Several smoking guns pointing in Denver's direction.
You love that. Yeah.
This is written like it's a lock that DaRon Holmes is coming to Denver.
Yeah. And it's one thing for other guys to say it. You know, Gavoni does carry a different type of weight with how plugged in he is over the past few years. So we'll see. Correct or incorrect, if it actually is Holmes at this point is seen as such known fact that I almost feel like it's a bad look for the Nuggets' ability to withhold intel internally.
What if they just take him at 28 though?
Well, that's then it works out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess you're fine.
right. But if somebody like jumped them and it was actually the guy they wanted, that's probably rough.
Yep, that would be a bad look.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's why I don't think there was a quote unquote promise.
I don't either.
Because like that's just such a stupid thing to do. And I know this because I've talked to people with the Nuggets and I've talked to people with other teams. A lot of times, like I've talked to like execs with other teams, they just give these draft guys bad intel on purpose.
That's the point. Yeah. Why would you give them good intel?
Right. Yeah, back to Dimitri's comment. You got to trade Zeke if you pick DaRon. I think so. Look, I know the Nuggets want to trade Zeke. That's not a secret.
Yeah, I mean, look, Zeke at $9 million just isn't.
I think a good
not
scenario for next year is if you do pick DaRon Holmes, you have him and then a veteran minimum center. I think that is a good option.
Veteran minimum candidates, your best options should be at point guard and center.
Yeah.
That's where I think there'll be the least amount of competition and the most just decent league average guys available to
Like
you.
a Dario Saric. I don't know if you can get him
time.
on a minimum,
Big time.
but if you could, that'd be an absolute coup. Maybe a Daniel Tice, Goga
I think he'd
Bataze.
be perfect.
One of those guys
Goga would be fast.
plus a DaRon Holmes is a good combo, I think, at center. Zeke Naji, gone.
Yeah. And then you have the second pick in the second round.
Yeah. I think Celestos brings up a good point as well. The green room might matter a little more this year because day 1 and day 2 are separated.
Yep, exactly.
That's going to be really
Exactly.
awkward if you're in the green room and have to come back when it's the second round.
Oh, big time. That's
Then you
gonna be
get
brutal.
a Drew Lock situation.
Yeah, you really
Yeah.
do.
He had to come back the next
That's
day.
rough.
Yeah, and in
man.
years past, you had some second round prospects with their families in the stands in the hope that they'd get drafted and then walk up to.
Right.
So that won't be the case this year. That's another added dynamic. I mean, if they trade out of that 28th pick, it's going to feel different because they're not just going to make that pick 10 minutes later. They're going to make that pick the very next day. And those teams at the top of the second round will kind of own that day of the draft. Those guys will be able to kind of control the board and maneuver a few trades. It's going to be another interesting dynamic in this 24 NBA draft.
Do you like DaRon Holmes as a prospect? Do you feel like he's a guy you'd be cool with taking at 28?
I'd be cool with him. He checks off a lot of boxes. He makes a lot of sense. He wouldn't be my top choice.
Okay.
There are some times when I watch him and I'm like, I wish he was a little bigger. I wish he was a tad more athletic.
Yeah.
Both as far as like being bouncy and just more of a vertical threat around the hoop, and both as like just foot quickness and stuff. He looks he feels more like a Nas Reed, like more of a methodical big than like a big that's really bringing athletic intensity, even though I know the metrics are really good defensively for him. So he feels like more of a well-rounded, skilled big man. There are some times when I watch him where the sophomore tape versus the junior tape, I do see more of those elements of being an energy big.
Interesting.
I wish he wasn't 6'9".
Yeah.
You know,
He has very similar measurables to Zeke Naji. He's that sized guy.
Yeah. So,
Slightly smaller even. Very slightly smaller.
And when I'm thinking backup big, I think of specific matchups like the Minnesota matchup.
Yeah.
And I wonder, as a guy that's 6'9", that's DaRon, is he really adding that much? In an ideal world, I'd love a guy with maybe a tad more size, a tad more athleticism. But, you know, at the 28th pick, it's a bit of beggars can't be choosers.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. At 28, if you can get a Holmes, that seems like pretty good value.
100%. That's the thing. This is a nice draft. I know some people are going to say, look, why are the Nuggets even worrying about drafting a guy? First off, they won't have a pick again till 2031? So it's going to be a minute. And then or at least a first round pick. Then the other factor is this is a unique draft where it's not loaded at the top, but the depth later on is pretty good to where there are several guys who you're going to be like, wow, it doesn't almost make sense that a dude like this is available at pick 28, but that's what makes this draft unique. You're going to have a handful of guys like that.
Here's what I really like about Holmes. I think it starts with his offense. I think offensively, he's going to be a good NBA player. You just watch his tape and you're like, oh, he can shoot it a little bit. You know, he looks good in the pick and roll, the pick and pop, got a good feel around the rim and the paint.
Yeah.
Just offensively, it seems like he's going to be an impact guy eventually.
For sure.
Defensively, I don't know. And even his shot, there are some concerning things about his shot, I think. The fact that he wasn't a shooter at all his first 2 years, then last year jumps up to 38.6%. Not a good free throw shooter, even just around like 70%. Not like surefire benchmarks for being a good shooter, although his shot does look good. Like his shot passes the eye test. It does.
Those percentages were nice. But you're right. Like in some ways, a guy like a Kyle Filipowski who shot worse percentages, I might believe in his shot more because we saw Filipowski. They were tougher shots. They're shots off the bounce. They're contested shots, maybe step backs and stuff like that. Holmes, it's a little less. It's less like self-creation off the shot. So,
but
it's tougher to buy.
I'd say overall, I do trust his offense, though. And if you're looking at past Nuggets centers, he's probably going to be the most gifted backup big man that Denver's had in a while. You know? Just in terms of his all-around offense.
DeMarcus Cousins, certainly.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Nuggets just haven't had a guy like that in a while if they do get Holmes.
And he just complements a lot of guys. I could see a front court with him and Piwa. I could see a front court that's more 5-out with him and a Hunter Tyson. You know, there's a few different matchups with the Nuggets front court where he feels nice. He looks good.
Defensively, it seems like he could be okay. He's got a little switchability, maybe. Some decent, numbers in terms of his block rate and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm definitely more confident in his offense.
Same.
Definitely more confident.
Same. And look, I think year one for Calvin Booth, the priority was wings and defense.
Yeah.
And I think we saw a shift last year where it was offense, offense, offense. All three guys are like offense primarily.
Good point.
And I think after last year's playoffs, even Malone going into Game 7 is saying, hey, our offense needs to lead the way, which for Malone's kind of a change of narrative for him. He's always a defense needs to lead the way. I think a guy like this leans into that a bit.
Yeah. And in terms of his athleticism, I don't feel like he's a great athlete. I actually feel like Zeke Naji's a much better athlete than him.
Switchability defensively is where Zeke's just like maybe 2 tiers above.
And you just watch like the two guys run. Zeke Naji is just a different tier of athlete, I feel like.
I know.
Running and jumping than DaRon Holmes. But again, I think Holmes is in a completely different universe to Zeke Naji in terms of skill.
Yep.
And that's the important thing.
If there's a 2-tier difference for Zeke and Holmes' switchability, it's maybe a 3-tier difference in offensive skill Holmes brings versus
There's a way bigger gap there.
Yes, sir.
His offensive skill, just everything he brings to the table, he's way more of a polished
exactly
finished product now than it even seems like Zeke Naji is now. All right, let me hit a break, and then let's go through the whole draft. Let's just go through the whole mock, start at the top.
Yes.
And we'll work our way through the first round.
Please. All my dreams are coming
second.
true, Harrison.
At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. Check out Bet365. They've got draft props, too.
Yes, sir.
They believe every sport should be epic. Right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365 with the code DNVR365. Use the promo code, get a bet and get offer, place a bet of $5 or more, get $150 in bonus bets, or get the first bet safety net offer, place a bet up to $1,000. If your qualifying bet loses, you get a matched refund and bonus bets.
Pretty dope.
Must be 21 plus, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Do you have you seen any of the Bet365 draft props?
Yes, indeed.
What kind of stuff do they have on there?
They have they have draft position.
Okay.
1 through 10. So the odds-on favorites to be the pick 1 through 10, and you can pick your dogs. They have what team will draft Bronny James.
Lakers.
Oh, yep, at plus 150, so plus value at that. They have over-unders for prospects. I think I'm seeing 4 right now. It's Klingon, Reed Shepherd, Stephon Castle, and one of the French guys.
It'd be pretty funny if they had a DaRon Holmes over-under.
Oh, that would be amazing. And then I might be forgetting one. So, yeah, it's starting to fill out. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Also, check out Illegal Pete's. This episode brought to you by Illegal Pete's. I could go for some Illegal Pete's right now.
Dude, they're the best.
If you're in the Springs, they got Illegal Pete's by you now, too. The Illegal Pete's Colorado Springs location is now open. Swing by, check it out. Live music, endless margaritas. Of course, your favorite burrito fixings. It's in the heart of downtown Colorado Springs. But if you're in Denver, tons of Illegal Pete's spots.
Come on now.
You can check out their location right down the street from the bar on Colfax. They got one downtown, 16th Street.
Just right here.
They got one on South Broadway. Burritos, tacos, quesadillas, nachos, whatever you want. Illegal Pete's has it. Full bar at every location. Great outdoor patio, too.
Yeah,
perfect for the
elite.
weather right now.
Oh, today's perfect.
So check out Illegal Pete's. All right, back here on TDSP, Harrison Wind and Andre Simone. Let's bring back up the mock draft.
Yes.
And we can table the DaRon Holmes talk for now. But what's going on at the top? The Atlanta Hawks have the first pick. ESPN's predicting they now take Zachary Risache.
We've had this is a switch because I think Alex Sarr was the more popular pick. It sounds like Sarr's been hard for the Hawks to get in the building. And now Risache, the pick here. And he shifted to the odds-on favorite at Bet365 as well, plus 100. I could have sworn Sarr was the favorite just yesterday. So
it feels like everybody's been circling the wagons on this guy recently, though.
Yeah.
But
French MPJ. MPJ feel of all the American players in the league, maybe one of the Frenchest feeling, right?
Yeah.
Kale nodding his head, yes.
Yeah. It's not a bad comp. Because this guy, his best skill right now is his shot.
Yep.
He's a shooter, like 6'9", a small forward, 3-and-D type guy.
Yep.
But the rap on him is he's super young, 19 years old, but playing in the top league in France and holding his own.
Yeah, and played some of his best ball during the playoffs. Bilal Koulibaly, flashbacks, kind of a late riser because of this. And then the Hawks need to figure out what are they even doing, Because he's a great complementary piece if you're kind of staying on the path. He's not necessarily who you'd go with if you're saying, okay, we're getting rid of one of our franchise players. We're kind of trying to rebuild this thing. And who's our next young franchise? But he's much more of like, oh, yeah, he'd be a great third star. Or,
I know.
Your third max guy, basically. MPJ, again.
Yeah. Getting the first pick was probably the worst thing for the Hawks. Like, it's a good thing, of course, but now they're probably... Like, are they just going to continue on with, the Trae Young, DeJounte Murray?
I kind of think they punt on it.
You think they rebuild?
Yeah,
They should.
they should.
I'm not convinced they will, though.
No, I'm not either. And I think there was a little Klingon buzz at 1 as well.
There has been Klingon buzz.
Stay put. Yeah, because who's their center? They're still in the Capella. Right. You can move on.
It feels like they've soured on a little.
Yeah, I used to love Okongwu. I used to think he would have been the perfect big to pair with Yoke before they got AG. Okay.
Yeah. So
pick number 2.
Risa Shea at 1. It seems like that's becoming the consensus. I still feel like nobody really knows.
It's going to get fun.
Doesn't it feel like people are really guessing just at the top of this draft?
Yes, and then it creates an echo chamber where instead of people being like, it's anyone's guess, go off the wall, people just start all mocking the 2 French guys in the top 2. Totally. And I think the top 3 could set us on a path of like this whole top 10 being completely off what people think.
I think the draft is going to be crazy.
Yes.
In general, I think mocks are going to be worthless this year.
Same.
Absolutely.
Like, just because there's no clear-cut tiers to me.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just going to be teams identifying their guys and just taking them.
Exactly.
But, unless you're working for that team, you don't know who that guy is.
Totally. And I think it's hard. It's going to be a hard year to make trades because these picks aren't valued. So you're kind of going to be stuck at your pick and be like, screw it, man. I don't care if this guy's 10 spots higher than the consensus.
If you're at 18
let's just take him.
And a guy's mocked at 27, you're like, I'm not going to get a ton of value for trading down this year. Like, fuck it. Let's just take my guy.
That's also why Holmes stinks a little to me because in the Cal Booth era, I think only Christian Braun has been a pick that mockers were like, oh yeah, that's adequate value. He's gone a little more off the res.
He's not afraid to take his guy.
Famously, he took Peyton Watson in the first round. We didn't even have a player card made for him because of how low on our board he was.
And Strother was
Strother was 10 spots higher than we had him on our board.
Yeah. So him going Holmes, it's more like, well, who's that guy who's maybe being mocked 10 spots lower that they might swing on?
And frankly, I absolutely love that. I love that Calvin Booth isn't going off of mock drafts and is just taking who he actually evaluates as the right pick.
It's how you should do it. That's how you do it, right? You'd be going off your evaluations, not worrying about what the mocks are saying. That's what
that's
I do.
how I do it normally.
Exactly.
Watch a quick highlight, put a draft grade on them. That's what I do.
Dude just knows ball, man. It's inherent.
All right. The second pick right now is Sar. This is the guy who the last couple months has been the chalk number 1 pick, but he's slipped to 2.
Yeah.
It feels like the Wizards will probably take Risa or Sar, whoever doesn't get taken at 1.
Yeah.
Unless it's Klingon, then the whole, wrench could be thrown into things.
Right.
Sar, I actually like. I like Sar. He's a Jaren Jackson type guy. Projects as an elite defender potentially.
Yeah, as far as switchability.
Yeah. Block shots, can switch out on the perimeter. Really, really athletic. Yeah. He looks like a number 1 pick to me.
For sure. And then I think the offensive tools are what intrigues me maybe even more. But then it's classic NBA draft shit where it's like, oh, well, what are the knocks? It's like, well, you know how he just said he's a great defender? But I wish he was a better rebounder for a 7-footer. I actually wish he was a better shot blocker for a 7-footer. And then it's like, oh, well, you talked up his offense. How's that shot? Like, oh, it's more hypothetical than real, So he's a real project.
Oh, totally.
But you're right. Like just the raw tools are those of a franchise player if he was to reach his ceiling.
So I like Sar. He's pretty intriguing to me. I'd probably take him 1 based off, the scouting I've done.
Intriguing. Yeah. I like it.
3 right now, I believe it's Reed Shepherd.
Who'd you believe it was?
I was going to say Klingon, but the Rockets, they already got Şengün at center.
Yeah. Interesting decision there.
Reed Shepherd is not a guy I would touch in the top 5. I know this is a bad draft.
All-time guide to debate. The analytics love him because his shot-making metrics are off the charts. This was a guy who was making above 50% from 3 as a true freshman at Kentucky and maybe has some true point guard skills.
You're right. I mean, you're right about all that. again, I would not touch him in the top 5.
I kind of feel the same way, but tell me why you wouldn't.
6'2" white point guard, Andre.
With like a 6'3" wingspan.
Just historically, how many of those guys have panned out?
40-inch vertical. Which
Sure.
is crazy.
Again,
No, I know.
6'2"
I
white
know.
point guard. How many of those guys have panned out? And like, how many of those guys are worthy of being top 5 picks? I know it's a bad draft. Still.
No, I mean, I'm just thinking like take the white part out, 6'3" point guards who've worked out. I mean,
It's like Jason Kidd and Steph. That's
Undersized
like
point guards.
yeah, no,
Undersized
Steph,
point guards usually don't pan
Chris Paul, and he's not. The point guard part is what scares me because at Kentucky was more of a do it all. Like, is he really a lead guard? Is he this like craftsman in the pick and roll who's really making great reads and passes like off the dribble and stuff? I don't know. And he's going to be an all-time guy where analytics departments and coaching departments will be at war.
Yeah.
Because analytics will love him. Coaches will say, what, like, the stuff he's good at is the stuff you usually are gambling on coaching him up. Like, oh, just I get a little more IQ in him. The shot coach is going to get. No, he has that. He has the shot. He has the IQ. He has the defensive effort. The shit you teach, he has.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his ceiling is.
Yeah.
Is his ceiling a good backup point guard? Maybe I'm not sure. So Reed
Well,
Shepherd's.
how could you take that guy in the top 5 if that's his ceiling? John brings up Peyton
That's the draft.
Pritchard and TJ McConnell. Peyton Pritchard, end of first round guy. TJ McConnell, when was he even drafted? Yeah. So again, Reed Shepherd could be very good. Taking him in the top 5 seems a little wild to me, though.
I go back and forth with him all the time. I think the hot odds there might be Steven Castle at plus 600. And I almost wonder if Houston and San Antonio might do a little 3-4 swap.
A little swap?
Spot. Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
let's hit a break and we'll get back to this mock draft in a second. Guys, at DNVR, we got a lot of events coming on,
So
coming
many.
up here.
So many.
And mainly, I want to talk about the draft show we've
Let's
got
go.
a week from today, week from about right now to the hour. We will
crazy.
be
That's right.
having a live draft show here at the bar, me and the fellas in the studio.
Amazing.
And we'll be streaming it downstairs at the bar as well. So get your tickets online, thednvr.com. You can come and buy tickets at the door as well, but I don't want it to sell out. So get your tickets ahead of time. $12 burger and Breck beer. Woo. You can also get a tour of the DNVR studios with your ticket.
Dang.
You can come to the meet and greet with me and the other fellas from the DNVR Nuggets podcast as well.
Championship books being given out to the first 100 RSVPs?
Right. You can get a Golden Era championship book.
It's actually a crazy deal. You're getting a burger, a beer, and a book for $12, even if you don't stay for the draft. Like,
And you're what? Right. Draft with the fellas on
yeah,
top of it all. Holy cow.
What a deal.
Yeah, if you're a ball knower and lover, if you're tuning into this show, my God, do we have a night for you?
Yeah. And the best part is you can come show at the bar, eat, drink, and watch and listen to our live
good
draft
time.
show. We'll be breaking down every pick as it happens, but
Incredible.
from a Nuggets perspective. So this
Right.
is way different than, the ESPN draft show or whatever show you're watching. You're getting
That's
every
the only one. So
pick, but how it affects the Nuggets. And of course, if any news happens with the Nuggets, that's all we'll be focusing on. So you're going to want to be here for that.
Damn
TheDNVR.com
straight,
to get your tickets.
listen
Also,
up.
check out Shady Rays. The summer is here in Denver. You need your Shady
The
Rays.
goats.
ShadyRays.com. You can use the code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Shady Rays rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. If you go to ShadyRays.com, just scroll their website. So many different options, styles, colors, whatever you want. Shady Rays has it. Rated 5 stars, like I said, by over 300,000 people. No matter what style of sunglass you wear, maybe it's like that aviator style or the Wayfarer. Shady Rays, they have you covered.
There's no doubt.
And especially now that it's pretty much the summer here in Denver, it's been like 89 degrees every day. The sun's out from pretty much dawn until dusk. You need your shady rays.
Yeah,
Use
you
the code
really do.
DNVR. Get 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They also have a great customer service policy. If you don't love your shades, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them worry-free within 30 days. Use the code DNVR, 35% off polarized sunglasses. All right.
Let's go.
Back here on TDSP, Harrison, Wind and Andre Simone. Let's continue breaking down this mock draft here. Next pick.
Low-key huge for the future of the West. The San Antonio Spurs at 4th overall. They've already impacted the Nuggets' chances at repeating.
Yeah.
How much does this 4th overall pick weigh
They
on the
really did.
future of the West, Harrison?
They really did.
Kind of has some big implications, if you ask me. Thank God it's in a crappy draft.
Has them picking Stephon Castle, who I really like.
Yeah, these UConn guys, to me, are being criminally underrated.
I love Castle.
Yeah.
Mainly because he's just my type of player. 6'6" point guard, good defender, well-rounded prospect.
Maybe more on ball skill than he showed at UConn when you go back to the high school tape, right? But really good at fitting in that championship type team. So he's both got the tools to dream on, and he's shown he can fit in a winning culture and style. So there's a lot to like. It's all about how much do you believe in that ceiling? How high is that ceiling? Yeah, I mean, how we just described him versus Reed Shepherd kind of tells you everything.
Yeah, I like Castle way more than Shepard.
Yeah.
He's probably my top guard on the board.
Yeah.
Again, I love tall guards.
Harrison, correct me if you're wrong.
That's
You're
right.
just kind of, more than you like tall guards, you're out on small guards in the NBA. Just like in general, right?
Totally.
And this is a year where the small guards are having a comeback, and it's a bit of buyer beware here.
Yeah.
And I know Cal Booth agrees with you. That seemed to be a big thing
Me and him.
always for Cal.
Me and him hold the
Very
same,
aligned.
the same
Yes.
opinion there. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so Castle to the Spurs. Let's keep going here. Who else is next up on the mock?
Oh, we've got Matas Bazelis at 5
to the Pistons. I don't know much about Bazelis. He seems like a guy who everybody's a
Fascinating.
little lower on than they were about a year ago when he was being mocked as a potential number 1 guy.
Certainly.
Bazelis just seems like a really raw prospect, but
Yeah.
you can see the upside.
Yeah, 100%. He's a hard one to picture because the G League guys, all their stock fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he showed a certain level of he showed a certain player type in high school, and which was really the thing that got you most excited about this versatile, athletic, 6'9" type point forward wing was he's shooting it well from 3. In the G League, he shot it awful from 3.
Yeah.
So you're either going to buy in he'll be who he was in high school, or you're buying in he was who he was in the G League. And that's going to be about a 20-spot swing on your big board on how you believe in Matas.
Yeah. I agree. There's some bust potential here just because I don't know what his defining skill is. Doesn't seem like he's a great shooter right now. Is he a good ball handler?
Yeah.
Defender? I don't know.
Right.
This is a pure upside play. He's just 19 years old. Good pedigree.
It's a
The
good call out.
Pistons, who knows what the hell they're doing.
Dude, they're worst situation possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have that anchor trait. That trait you pound the table to make your case in the draft room for. He lacks that, and that's concerning.
At 6, they're mocking Dalton Connect to the Hornets, the Colorado kid who played at Tennessee last year.
Incredible.
This is an interesting fit because I don't think he's regarded as a great defender, and you're potentially putting him next to LaMelo Ball. And I know you got Brandon Miller there as well. But I actually love if the Hornets could get Castle or Cody Williams, I think that's a great target for them. Connect,
They
again,
gotta go with someone long-term, not a 23-year-old rookie.
yeah, Connect,
But I love Connect.
great college player. I feel like I'm a little lower on him than the consensus.
Here's what I'll say. He's not your typical 23-year-old senior. Like, his breakout is more due to he was underlooked for the first 3 years of his college career
Yeah.
because
Also,
he is
huge growth spurt in college.
right.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Right. So he's and there are stories in the NBA of, these kind of late bloomers. So I believe in him a little more. I'd like for him to land in one of those Western Conference teams that are drafting at the end of the top 10. Maybe Portland less, but if he went to like San Antonio at 8 or Memphis at 9, those would be really nice fits for him.
He could be a guy that falls. I wouldn't be surprised if he slipped a little.
23's old, man.
At 7, they've got Klingon falling all the way to the Blazers. So it feels like maybe Klingon goes 1, and if he doesn't go 1, maybe he slips to around here.
Yeah, because the thinking is all those teams are basically set at center, feel good about a youngish center they have.
Yeah. And I would much rather Sar if I'm like the Wizards at 2 than Klingon.
Well, yeah, for the Wizards, you probably more want to swing on upside than go Klingon. I could see that. I like Klingon a lot.
I like him too.
I
would
Rudy
never
Gobert
take
sized.
him at 1 though.
He's Rudy Gobert sized.
Right.
With like 50 pounds heavier. And maybe a little
Right.
more IQ and touch and feel on the offensive side.
Yeah. I would just much rather the like upside of a Sar
Yeah.
personally. But
really like Sar.
I really did like Klingon in the tournament. Great rim protector,
Yeah.
like defensive game changer at center, can lock down the paint, and good strong finisher inside.
Big time.
But he doesn't really have an offensive game though.
No, though apparently he's shooting it well in workouts.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
a
see.
classic. A classic. How much do these guys landing out west concern you with King Yoke now having some more fresh meat to bang with in the paint?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. On the draft pod, people tell me all the time I make the
That
worst
was-
analogies and just
that was a
plow
line.
right through
That
without
was a
even
bar.
acknowledging them. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, mildly concerning.
Hell yeah.
It's really just about who the Spurs get, I think. That's what I'm mostly concerned
Agreed.
about. Portland,
Memphis a
who
little
cares?
concerning, right? Memphis at 9.
Sure, yeah. But it's really just like, who are the Spurs going to load up with with these 2 top 10 picks?
Agreed.
But clinging to the Blazers to replace DeAndre Ayton. I mean, the Blazers, like, it feels like this could be a Rockets 2.0 situation where they draft all these young guys. None of them turn out to be absolute, like,
Stars.
rock solid
Yep.
foundation building blocks. And eventually they bring in, Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks
Can't wait.
to speed up the process. We'll see.
amazing.
We'll see how much patience they have.
They'll be electric.
The Spurs back on the clock at 8. Rob Dillingham.
And if you hate Reed Shepherd, I think Rob Dillingham is that much worse.
Why would they take 2 point guards in the top 10? That's crazy.
Why would you draft Lou Williams in the top 10 is crazy as well. I mean, this guy's 165 pounds. Not necessarily a pure point guard, more of a shoot first guy. I mean, he's concerning. He has some exciting stuff, and then he has some wild stuff.
Yeah.
So
He's a guy who the word on the street's been agents are hiding him in the pre-draft process. He's not working out for a
Right.
lot of teams.
Right.
That's always a red flag to me. There's clearly they clearly don't want to put him out there for display.
I would not draft this kid.
Yeah.
I think guys like Isaiah Collier or other guards in this class who are similar age are more intriguing. But yeah, also it would make no sense to go Dillingham and Castle.
You would think.
Unless it's just like, how many bullets can you put in the chamber trying to find a franchise point guard to
Sure.
put next to Wemby?
Or you're really buying into Dillingham just being a 6-man off the bench and kind of a spark plug scorer.
And you've already got Devin Vassell there.
Yeah, it seems like a terrible, terrible pick.
I don't know why they'd be taking all these. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. 9, the Grizzlies. ESPN has Cody Williams from Colorado going there. That's a nice fit next to John Morant and Jaren Jackson. You get a lot of length there.
Yeah. He could complement Bane. Brandon Clark hasn't quite worked out. He could fill in a bit of that void at those forward spots for him.
Yeah.
He'd be nice. How do you feel about Cody?
As a prospect, he's definitely a project.
Yeah.
He's going to take a couple years. He's just so skinny and so raw on offense
Yep.
where it's going to be a couple years, I think, until he's really playing winning basketball. defensively and just the length and athleticism that he has, I really like. I like Cody Williams as a prospect. He's got to go the right situation, though. Yeah, I think Portland
really
could be a
does.
great spot for him.
You do. That's
Cody
interesting.
Williams. Yeah.
That is where
Next
they have the
to
need.
a Scoot or Anthony Simons, who I actually think is who they should be building around. Just the length there. That
could see
potential backcourt, Simons and Cody Williams, that's nice.
I could see that for sure.
If we move on here, 10, the Jazz, Nikola Topic. What do you think of Topic? I'm excited to get to this guy because I just watched him last night for really the first time.
Love him. He's my top guy in this
Top
class. I just think his upside's higher than anyone. Like he could become a
I have a great comp for you
Serbian
that I'm excited to
Halliburton?
throw at you. Are you serious?
Is that who you're
Did you
going to
look
say?
at the draft sheet?
No. Harrison, this was my own take. He's that kind
You
of.
definitely looked at,
I
the draft
didn't.
sheet.
I swear to you. He's that kind of creative, oversized point guard. The shot's the biggest question mark, similar to Halliburton coming out of Iowa State. He's obviously younger, and I think that's a reasonable ceiling expectation. It's really nice rim gravity. I don't have to tell you. You apparently agree.
I thought I had this comp that I hadn't seen anywhere else.
Harrison, you're dealing with a very young child. Mine's a little more grown. I've got a little more time to grind this tape
God.
and come
I
up
was
with these
so
takes.
proud of that.
You should be. It's a great comp. It's a great
I
comp.
do see a lot of Halliburton.
Right?
In his
Watching
game.
watching
Right?
Harrison get the rug pulled out from under him in real time was brilliant. That was awesome. I'm so glad that happened.
I didn't think I'd get that kind of satisfaction.
I was like, I have this great comp
It's
that
the comp.
nobody else has.
and then he
It's the
just
comp.
immediately
Oh, he's got a little Halliburton to his game.
No, it's the comp.
hasn't he been playing professionally since he was 15 too?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
And
I mean-
he's 18 years old and put up good numbers in the Adriatic League.
First half of the year, dominating Mega.
He
And then
seems
at
like
Red
a
Star
can't
had
miss
some good
guy to me.
flashes.
He seems like a can't miss guy.
Now, the floor is Josh Giddey, which is good, but you worry about those guys who can't shoot. The defenders sagging off them so hard in the playoffs, they literally have to
But in
become
this
unplayable.
in this type of draft, if you get Giddey out of the top 10, that's okay.
I also see enough, it's what we were talking about, Holmes versus Filipowski, enough off the dribble shot creation where I just think the shot's going to come.
Also, he's 6'6".
That's the thing.
6'6" ball handler.
Yeah.
Like that helps you out so much.
Yeah.
He did tear his ACL, which could make him slide. I mean, he could miss all of
mean,
his rookie year.
Him going to 10 is a massive slide. This
There-
was a consensus
Yeah.
top 5 guy before the ACL.
There's a chance he just out his whole rookie year.
100%. And as some of the chats saying, wow, the Spurs might take a good swing on him at 8.
That's who I would take if I'm the Spurs.
If you're Charlotte, why are you taking Connect? Just let's hope Topic becomes
They got
Halliburton.
LaMelo Ball though.
You don't want 2 point guards who are 6'6" and 6'8"? Doesn't that sound amazing?
If I'm the Spurs, I'm taking Topic and not really thinking twice. Although there is it feels like there's a little pressure in San Antonio to be good next season.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
All right, we can kind of breeze through these next few. I don't have many takes on this range of the drafts yet.
Yeah.
Devin Carter, everybody loves him as a plug and play ready-made guy.
Anthony Carter's son. How could you not?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
And Anthony Carter, I believe, works for the Grizz. And his
Does he?
profile would fit a lot.
Okay. All right.
Especially if they like Marcus Smart, he would be the perfect heir to Marcus Smart. But anyways.
12 Oklahoma City. I'm going to refer to the pronunciation to you.
Oh, I'm not. I'm going to butcher this. Tadaji Saloon. It's for sure not that. That's the most. Tadaji Saloon. I could not tell you.
This guy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Watching this guy's
it's
tape,
crazy.
it honestly reminds me a little bit of the Giannis tape.
Yeah. All-time tape, of course. The Giannis tape.
He sucks, but you could talk yourself into him being a future All-NBA guy.
Totally, because he feels like power forward size. He brings so much energy, and he can shoot the 3. But then, oh my god, he's so raw.
6'10", you can see it.
So raw.
Ron Holland, 13 to Sacramento. He's a guy who was projected at the very top of the draft
Him and
a
Buzelis,
year ago
basically.
and
Yeah.
has slipped a bit.
Yeah.
It feels like he could be a candidate to fall on draft night, although the upside is tremendous.
Yeah. Hard to know what to make of this kid, I tell
14 with the Blazers, Jacoby Walter.
Yep.
One and done guy out of Baylor.
Yeah.
15, Miami. They've got Zach Edey going. What's your take on Edey?
I think he'll actually be pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a top 15 center, and he'll be really efficient. I think he's good, and he's good enough on offense to justify the minuses on defense. I think the minuses on defense might be a little overblown.
I think he's going to be like boom or bust potentially. I could see a scenario where he's actually really good.
Yeah.
But I could also see a scenario where he just can't stay on the floor because he's not quick enough.
I know. He did it in the turn. He did a decent job in drop coverage. There's a really nice block on Dalton Connect towards the end of that Tennessee game that kind of clinched it for him. If he can do that semi-consistently, there might be something. And yeah, I mean, like top 6 center in the league doesn't feel crazy.
Yeah. 76ers at 16, Jared McCain out of Duke, point guard.
Love him. He was on fire to end the season, maybe the best pure shooter in the class, even though I know Shepard's percentages are better. To me, this guy, usually it's like, oh, the Kentucky guy that is going to exceed expectations. To me, the Kentucky guy might just be the Duke guy this year.
Interesting that, I mean, he's only a 6'2" point guard.
Yeah.
That'd be a small backcourt with him and Maxey.
For sure. And he's not even a pure point guard. He's probably more of a shooting guard.
Interesting.
That's his big question mark.
The Lakers at 17, they've got Tristan Da Silva from Colorado mocked there.
Yeah.
I love Da Silva. I think he's going to be good.
You just see him. He's not a superstar, but he's a guy who's like, he feels so, he fits on a court in playoff basketball.
Yeah. 18, the Magic. How does Kansas have one of these dudes every year?
Every year.
Johnny Furphy, who looks exactly like Grady Dick. Like, are they not the same dude?
He's Australian. He had a fat NIL offer to come back to Kansas, actually declared, so everyone thinks his range has to be top 20 if he turned it down. Even though I think a lot of analysts would rank him below a lot of the guys that you're going to see from now until pick 28.
6'9" shooter. He's a guy who I've seen mocked Nuggets a little bit, but I just think he's too big of a project for Denver to even think about.
Yeah.
19, the Raptors. They've got them taking Keyshawn George.
Fascinating player,
but he's also the type of guy I could see being a bust. He's just the type of player that busts a lot. I feel like tall shooter that has a lot of other question marks around him.
Yeah, doesn't do anything at the rim, but might like cross you over and pull up from logo range and like make it look easy at like on a 6'8" frame. 20,
the Cavs, Carlton Carrington, Bub Carrington. I don't know much about him.
I think he goes like top 15.
Okay.
A freshman who has a lot of tools, big point guard who has some shot creation potential. He's the kind of guy the NBA dreams on, and I think this guy probably goes pretty high.
Getting into a couple of the backup big options here now. Pelicans at 21, Yves Misi out of Baylor, young raw center. Probably too much of a project for the Nuggets to even really think about, but he's, an athletic guy, a lot of potential there. And then the Suns at 22 at Tyler Kolek, like we talked about earlier. That seems like a near lock with how it's being reported. The two biggest locks of the first round, according to all the draft pundits, seem to be DaRon Holmes to Denver and Tyler Kolek to Phoenix.
You're right.
The Bucks at 23, Khalil Ware. We talked about him on the DNVR Nuggets show today. Athletic, 7-foot, modern day shot blocking center with maybe some Brook Lopez type potential.
It's a good comp.
And then right after him, the Knicks, Kyle Filipowski.
Yeah, this is where that run on backup bigs for the Nuggets should start. And I wonder, especially those two Knicks picks at 24, 25.
They have back-to-back picks. Wow.
Yeah, and you'd think they'll try to trade out of at least one of those.
Yeah.
You can't give Tibbs 2 rookies. Also, they're like in a tight cap crunch. I think they're going to try to clear some space some way, somehow.
Who is your Is your favorite backup big man potentially DaRon Holmes right now?
No, I think it's where Filipowski, with Filipowski having a slight edge for me.
Oh, so you like Filipowski more than Ware and Holmes?
I do.
Interesting.
I think I like how efficient he was as a driver in college. So it's not that
He's
just
really
the shot
skilled.
making. Yeah, he's really skilled. I saw huge improvements statistically. It shows in his shot blocking. And I think while the foot quickness questions I had with Holmes are there with him as well, I don't think there's a discernible difference between the two. So I'll take the 7-footer whose offensive skill I believe in just a little more. So yeah, that's why I have Filipowski. He's also a tad younger than Holmes,
Okay.
And
yeah, Filipowski only 20 years old.
and Filipowski, I'm convinced last year, if he declares, and like Furphy, he got a fat NIL offer from Duke. That's why he goes back.
NIL offer.
Must have, right? I think he goes late lottery in last year's Wemby draft ahead of his teammate Derek Lively and guys like Jet Howard, who, another kind of stretch big. I think he's underrated. If you were able to get Kyle Filipowski in this draft at 28, when I think a year ago he would have gone top 15, I think that's a steal.
Yeah. The Knicks' next pick, Ryan Dunn. I've seen a lot on this guy recently. An incredible defender,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no offense.
Can you justify an incredible defender who
Ridiculous
does not have a
defender.
shot? Yes. Highlight reel shit, but then cannot. The best offense you're going to get is a floater 10 feet in.
Yeah. The Wizards at 26, Isaiah Collier, who was the number one recruit in college last year, but his stock has slipped a bunch.
And there were
Point guard.
stretches at USC where Givoni's writing articles. Oh, is Collier making a case for number one? The fall seems crazy. The comp is a Tyreek Evans. So
He
that
seems
tells
like a
you-
guy that's going to slip to about this spot.
There's some inefficiency in his game.
Yeah.
Also, if Washington doesn't get Alex Sarr, Klingon, or their big at the 2 pick, a lot of people then have them mocked to take the big here at the 26th pick, which might have real ramifications for the Nuggets' 28th pick.
Absolutely. The Timberwolves at 27, Terrence Shannon, just an absolute scorer.
Yeah.
23 points a game last year at Illinois.
He was incredible.
Had the off-the-court issues, but he got cleared from those.
Yep.
So he's probably a first-round guy.
Yes. And right now the range is all over. I mean, Givoni writes he could go at top 20, 27th overall, with many teams in the top 25 expressing interest now that he's been cleared.
The Timberwolves would be a
Who
good
knows
fit
where
for
it'll
him because they need a ready-made guy in their rotation.
Yeah.
He's probably more NBA ready than a lot of guys at this spot.
He'd be a really nice backup to Ant. But you do wonder, could him and Ant be on the court at the same time?
Yeah. Last couple picks here.
Holmes, obviously, we
Holmes
talked about.
to the Nuggets.
Yep.
A lock. Definitely going to happen. Too many smoking guns for it not to happen,
It's
reportedly.
automatic, yes.
And then Baylor Shireman, a guy I think is a Calvin Booth type of guy at 29, experienced, almost 24 years older, or will be 24 next
Crazy.
season out of Creighton. Reminds me of Joe Ingles. Good shooter, can pass a little bit, great size as well. I think he was a former point guard growing up.
He's almost power forward size, 6'8", 220, and his rebounding numbers are those of a power forward, and his shot is awesome. Yeah, I wish there was just a tad more as a secondary ball handler, or I'd really buy this guy. I think there's some of that, but he's maybe more of a tertiary ball handler.
Tertiary? Yeah. And then final pick of the first round, ESPN has the Celtics taking
Pacome
Dadier.
There you go. And your boy, Jalen Tyson, is the first pick of round 2.
Yeah.
Your preferred pick for the Nuggets.
I do really like Jalen Tyson still.
I like a lot of the guys they then have going in the next 15 picks.
To end it here, do you have a guy, one of your guys, that you feel is underrated, maybe a potential second rounder, maybe he's even a potential first rounder, but a guy that you're going to war for, that you think is going to be good no matter what, that might be a little undervalued right now? Is there one guy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw Enrique Freeman out. He's the Akron walk-on.
I love him.
His profile not that far off DaRon Holmes.
Yeah.
I think he's a little smaller, but I believe the athleticism a bit more. At his size, I do wonder he feels like maybe more of an Aaron Gordon type backup center than a true backup center. This kid, though, the stats at Akron were amazing. Akron was a tournament team. They actually lost to Baylor Shireman and Creighton last year. He has nice touch around the rim, really nice shot. He's a shot blocker as well. He moves really well. And he earned a combine invite by kind of showing out in the couple smaller prospect scrimmages. He's really kind of made the best of it. And you got to love the believing in the character of a guy like that who goes from walk-on in a MAC team to NBA prospect.
Enrique Freeman, one of my guys as well.
Yeah.
He'll be one of my guys on draft night, probably a second-round pick. Undersized at 6'7".
Right, which is crazy.
But he had games in college of 24 points, 21 rebounds, 7 blocks.
Beast.
20 points, 20 rebounds, 3 blocks. 21 points, 18 rebounds, 4 blocks, 4 steals.
Crazy.
He's an awesome player. I kind of fell in love with him watching him a little bit.
Yeah, kind of a late riser, too. I really like what he brings to the table. Yahoo's Kristen Peck.
Kristen Peak.
I forget what No Ceilings podcast was on as a guest. Her final hot take to end the pod was like, I'm hearing some buzz. I think Enrique Freeman's a first rounder.
I believe it. She's been
And
on this show too.
That's someone I think maybe we were just talking about. Cal goes off the big board, right? He doesn't care about consensus. Who could be that surprise pick?
No.
Enrique Freeman.
At 56 or in the first round?
At 28. I could see that being his
That'd be
Peyton
wild.
Watson, right? I
That'd
could
be
see
wild.
that. I could see that. So.
All right, Dre, thanks for hanging out. Guys, thanks for
thank
watching.
you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Great to talk draft. Reminder that we'll be live all night, Wednesday night, for the first round of the draft.
Hell yeah.
From the DNVR studios. Stop by the bar if you want to watch and listen in person. Get your tickets, thednvr.com.
Electric.
I can't wait for the draft. I love the draft.
It's the best.
It is the best. I feel like some crazy shit's going to go down.
Yes,
And I cannot wait, man.
This year in 2 days, so we can really get ourselves hyped about the second round.
Second round, probably.
Enrique
even
Freeman
crazier.
watch. That's right. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week. I'll have a new guest then. Take care.
We all silly like the mayor.